Preparing the live stream. Takes a minute here to get set up. All right, looks like we're live.
Hello to all you Patriots out there in podcast land, and welcome to episode 266 of Canadian Patriot Podcast, the number one live podcast in Canada. We're recording on October 26, 2020. As always, my name is Andrew. I'll be your host. Joining me tonight, we have Gavin, Marty, and Alan.
Then we'd love to hear your feedback about the show, especially the quality of this show, because we're trying something a little different. We've switched to Zoom and hoping that'll fix some of our audio issues out there. So please visit CanadianPatriotPodcast.com/feedback or email us at feedback@CanadianPatriotPodcast.com. Version of the show is available on Stitcher and iTunes.
And check out the podcast on Facebook at facebook.com/Canadian Patriot Podcast and Instagram at instagram.com/Canadian Patriot Podcast, in things that are exceptionally predictable.
And as always, only communists expect to get things for free. So to show that you're not one, visit patreon.com/CPP and become Patreon or buy a shirt.
All right. What are we drinking? It's time for my favorite segment. I don't know how to do this because we're in the wrong spot because Zoom. So I'm going to start with Marty. Marty, what are you drinking?
I have Caesar tonight.
Is it like a regular
All
Caesar's,
hail
like a
Marty
super
Caesar.
spicy Caesar, or you can't just a Caesar?
So I everything it's done using my peppers. It's a little on the spicy side.
Excellent.
So it'll burn you. It'll burn you a lot.
But only on the
most
inside.
people would probably not approve.
Sounds delicious.
Yeah.
Alan, what are you drinking?
40 Creek Barrel Select, and it's just neat because only communists mix their whiskey.
All right. Gavin, what are you drinking?
I am drinking Appleton's rum and Diet Pepsi this evening.
That sounds like the worst possible thing you could do with Appleton's.
No, I'm sure there's a lot worse things they could do with it.
But not even a rum and Coke, a rum and Pepsi?
That's what I had on hand. Adapt and
That
overcome.
sounds poor planning, if anything.
Yeah, you
I don't
need
think I
a
drink
new
this-
roommate.
If you want to apply to be Gavin's new roommate, send us an email, feedback@CanadianPatriotPodcast.com. Make sure to include a headshot and your credit score.
Like an actual headshot, not an Andrew style headshot, because that would preclude you from being one of Gavin's roommates.
Not sure what Alan's getting at there, but okay. I don't think I drank this on the show yet. This week I have Keep Calm and Saison from Block 3 in St. Jacobs, Ontario.
You're really working through the Block 3 lineup, aren't you?
I went and I got a sample pack and I'm like, wow, that's enough beer for 2 months.
4 days later, we're out.
Yeah, I feel like
I'd
I've said
say-
that lots of times, and I can't say it's ever been accurate.
See, the trick is I buy the nice beer for the show and then I drink cheap swill through the rest of the week as I'm pretending to be a trade. It's like, once you paint a couple of walls, does it really matter anymore? No. The answer is no, it does not. You just want another beer. So I just drink cheap beer.
I have a whole system where I start with the cheap beers, like the lawnmower beers, because I'm not going to taste the first 2 or 3, and then I go to the good stuff, and then by the time I've done 2 or 3 good beers, then I don't care anymore, and I go back to the cheap beers. And I find that to be the most efficient method.
I mean, I had a similar one, but it was usually drink the good beer like first and second, and then after that, it was just whatever's cheap and cold.
Yep.
Yeah, Gavin's, I'd say, is the more traditional approach to that.
I mean,
I'm
especially
a big fan of that.
when we were in university and they had those like double pitchers, but it was like Wildcat strong. It was like, yeah, I'm definitely going to need at least one good pint before I get into the stuff that's just going to get me drunk.
It's good to have a plan.
Yeah.
Let's remind everybody, if they're not doing the Patriot Challenge, they should be. And you should be tagging us on your social media, because I know you have Instagram. I see you. I click like on your photos. That's actually a horrible lie. I'm really bad at social media, but we're trying.
We're getting better.
We're well. Ish. Gavin is getting good at social media. I'm still not sold. But go do the Patriot Challenge thing. Grab the template, post it on your social media, tag us so we can repost your stuff. Them's the rules.
I did complete the challenge today, and as an update from the last time I was on the show, I made my bed this morning.
Hey. Like you're doing book club and stuff.
I know, moving up in the world.
Let's go on into the news. Got a couple of things to talk about tonight. First one's an opinion piece in the National Post. At least Canadians know where... Wow, I haven't even had that much beer yet. At least Canadians now know that Trudeau's priorities don't include them. So this is going back to last week. We talked on the midweek show last week about the confidence vote that they were having in terms of setting up a new committee at Parliament. The confidence motion, of course, failed.
Shocking.
The government, the ruling Liberal Party, was trying to trigger a snap election with that, which they did not have. However, the Conservatives have now tabled a new motion where they're going to be talking about COVID-19 rapid testing, vaccine developments, availability of PPE, and the cancellation of the pandemic early warning system, which I'm not really sure what that is. Like, oh God, this other country's having a pandemic. It's in the news. We should do something about that.
I guess. Do you think this one's going to be a confidence vote too?
No, this one went through, and it was not a confidence vote. And I think that the Liberals may have learned that this is not a great idea.
So, help me understand, because I'm confused. The ruling party gets to decide whether it's a confidence vote or not?
Yes, and they
Yes
did
and
it in
no.
a very non-traditional way for a number of reasons. First of all, being the formation of a committee in 150, however many years we've been a country, 152 years, 154 years. Somebody do the math. 1867 to today.
153.
153. Yeah.
I was close. Just split the difference. The formation of a committee has never triggered a confidence vote, so far as I'm aware. Somebody can fact check me and send feedback if I'm wrong, and I'll apologize publicly on the show. But as far as I'm aware, a motion to form a committee has never triggered a confidence vote in the House.
Nor should it.
The second the second thing with this is it was done on opposition day. So this is a time in Parliament where the official opposition is allowed to bring forward motions and table bills and do things that the opposition wants to do. And again, it's highly unusual for the government, the ruling party, to amend those motions to include things like confidence votes. Usually they just get voted down, right? Like if the ruling party has a majority government, then they just say, no, we're just not doing what you want. Like pound sand, good luck, have a nice day, eh? So two highly unusual things come out of this. The confidence vote, or turning it into a confidence motion, and also turning it into a confidence motion because it's a committee request, which is not a thing that triggers confidence votes normally, or ever, really.
Did the
thing that this
Liberals
reveals, I
actually
think-
amend the motion?
The Conservatives
I
tried to amend it to have it state that it was not
Yes,
related. Yeah.
but I don't think that the Liberals actually amended the motion.
You know what?
I
You're
think-
right, Marty. I'm using the word amended incorrectly in this context because they did not make an amendment. I don't know what the right word is. Converted it to a confidence.
I think they just said
Yeah.
that they basically just stated that they deemed
Yeah.
it to be a confidence vote, and they were
Basically,
going to
yeah. If
consider
they
it
didn't
a
get their
confidence
way, they were going to take their ball and go home. I think
Yes,
is what
if-
they said.
Basic, yeah.
Right.
Essentially,
I
if
used
that
amendment
motion went
incorrectly.
through, they were going to go to the Governor General and dissolve Parliament.
Yeah.
You're right.
And then
I
to
used
answer-
amendment incorrectly.
Alan, I believe that there are certain cases when you asked about can they just determine that whatever they want to be a confidence vote. Uh, yes, but there are certain things that I think are required to be a confidence vote. Like the budget is always a confidence vote. I'm not certain if that's by tradition or by mandate, but there are certain things like the budget that are kind of always a confidence vote.
That's clear as mud. Appreciate that.
Welcome to Canadian politics.
Yeah.
The rules are made up and the points don't matter.
Yeah, especially lately.
So it sounds like Trudeau is trying to trigger an election and he's not succeeding.
He tried past tense, and I don't think
Yeah.
they're going to try again in the near term because I think that they realized that this was a losing proposition.
I think they're trying to trigger one, but have it look like someone else is triggering it so that
Yes.
they get the unfavorable sort of status.
Right.
Yes, they want to blame the Conservatives for triggering an election during a pandemic.
Of course.
Yeah.
Because why accept responsibility for anything when you can pass it off to somebody else?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a very Trudeau thing to do, isn't it?
And I think
The
I say the longer O'Toole is in power before the election, the more Canadians get to know him, and I think it's kind of better for the Conservatives to delay an election a little bit until with a new leader.
Yeah, and really the Conservatives are the only minority party that has a hope of running in an election. The NDP has no money, the Bloc will lose seats, and, well, the Green Party.
Does that still exist? Is that still a thing?
Yeah. I mean,
I believe
good for
technically
them.
they're listed as independent MPs because they don't have enough members to form a caucus.
Sounds right.
So I think you need to have, of the 338 seats, I think you need to have, it's either like 4 or 6 people in the same party in order to form a party, like a federal party.
Mm. Well, I mean, good for them for hanging on, you know?
I think
guess.
they're actually increasing in seats. They've
got 2 now?
I mean, they've got their West Coast stronghold, but you know what? I say that now, and I was going to. They've got an MP from Guelph, but that might be an MPP from Guelph in
That
Ontario
is an MPP
now.
from Guelph, and his name is Mike Schreiner, and he is the leader of the Green Party for Ontario, but that's an MPP.
you drive around in one of those little cars with the funny hat on.
What about Judy Wilson-Raybould? Didn't she join? Where did she end up joining?
She's independent.
Is she? I thought she ended up joining one of the parties.
I don't think so. I mean, she was at the vote when they called her name. They listed her as independent.
Okay.
But I mean, if that's because she's part of, like, say, the Green Party, then that makes sense. But
No, I think she might just hold an independent seat.
Yeah, independent.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
So following that motion, that failed confidence motion last week, there was a follow-up later in the week. The opposition put through another motion to form a committee to discuss the COVID-19 pandemic, and it went through. And the big change is that they're not calling it an anti-corruption committee. That's really it. Everything else pretty well stays the same. Of course, the government's super pissed that they have to provide documents because having ministers provide documentation interferes with their vital and important work fighting the coronavirus.
This sounds very much like Joe Fontana back in under the Martin Liberals, when he ended up writing checks from the taxpayers to pay for his son's wedding. And then,
but are you saying that they have an MO that's been around for years and years and years?
Oh, I'm saying there's a striking similarity between these liberals and those liberals. I'll let you draw your own conclusions there. I mean, it's also like every other liberal ever, provincial or federal.
I don't understand why the government is so opposed to having any amount of scrutiny into the spending around the coronavirus. We've managed to accrue a level of debt that we don't even have a tally of. We're running a government that doesn't have a budget. We haven't done anything to seemingly halt or even slow the spread of the corona because the metrics keep changing every day and the world is constantly about to end.
It's got to be a piss off. Like when you spend all this time perpetuating it like a fake pandemic so that you don't have oversight to then end up having oversight.
Yeah, that really kind of
I
messes with their plans.
mean, I'm not saying the game is rigged, but it seems kind of like it might be rigged. Tangentially to this, because the health minister and the minority critic, Michelle Rempel, she's the conservative health critic now, went kind of at odds in the House over this new motion to have a committee formed to review the COVID-19 spending. Did everybody see that Patty ended up in the news today? She was at Pearson Airport not wearing her mask.
Which is weird because when there was another politician that did that to make a phone call, they practically
I thought he was drinking
crucified
a
him.
lot of milk. Like I thought he just had like
Oh.
a big bag of milk.
That would have been more likely, but no, I believe he was making a phone call at the time, and yeah, I mean they practically crucified the guy.
Yeah, and there's like two stories I saw today about Hiju not wearing her mask while she was at Pearson. Strange how there's like two sets of rules in the media, one for the minority government and one for the majority government. That's
Well, I mean,
I
you
shouldn't
know,
say that. I'm using that word incorrectly. The opposition government.
I don't know if I
for-
would agree with that. I think it's more that there's one set of rules for the liberal elites and then one set of rules for everybody else.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at the Ontario bylaw, every indoor place it's required to have a mask on.
Well, we should look at the Ontario bylaw, but nobody put it in the show notes like I asked.
They became a bit of an expert on the on particular sections, but they were related specifically to the London Middlesex Health Unit, so they're a little less universal.
Well, the piece that Marty was sharing with some of us earlier today seemed to be to the effect that if you were in a place that was not your home, because it says public places, but it is not public places because it includes workplaces, even those that are not open to the public.
Yeah. So public, so
You have
sort of
to-
any sort of public
Yeah.
space. So for example, inside stores, event spaces, entertainment facilities, common areas, and hotels, as well as workplaces that are not open to the public. So like a private business's workplace is also included in the within the areas that you must be wearing a mask.
Well, and also vehicles that operate as part of a business or organization,
Yes.
including taxis and rideshare. So I get when you have a taxi or a rideshare that you will be sharing a vehicle and the space with somebody else. But to me, that also sounds like a guy that's just delivering your food. If it's a corporately owned vehicle, like you've got like a Domino's pizza sign on the side of your car, or any other corporately owned vehicle, you need to wear a mask inside the vehicle, even if you're on your own, according to this, because that's an inside place.
Yeah. I can see how you can interpret that.
Yeah.
But the reason that this came up is that this is the sort of the law in Ontario right now, and you are subject to fines if you are caught, inside of basically any place indoors that's not your home, workplace or any public space that is not your home without a mask. You are subject to fines, unless you're a politician, apparently.
Yeah.
Because if you look at any of the videos from Question Period, our government, which is inside of a building in Ontario, none of them are wearing masks.
It's almost as if the masks are ineffective, but they want to keep control over us for some reason. I'm just learning this now.
Weird.
I'm trying really hard not to draw parallels here between the whole burqa ban and the mask thing.
I was going to
Where's
just say,
Quebec when you need them?
it's like they looked at 1984 and were like, you know how we could make this even worse? Let's make them all wear
Yeah.
masks too.
Masks.
Yeah. Ugh.
Like 1984 and Logan's
Yeah.
Run and
Yeah.
all of Islam altogether.
Gotta wear masks? Yeah. They gotta wear masks everywhere, even inside.
Yeah, it's like, but just the women, though, right? It's like, no, equality. We should make
Yeah,
everybody.
everyone.
Because it's 2020.
Yeah.
Yay, mask Sharia.
And I still have yet to see anybody suggest what the sunset is on this. Like, under what conditions will we
That won't be.
discuss removing the rules?
Everybody
2
getting
weeks to slow the curve, bro.
everybody getting the vaccine.
Well, the vaccine's going to have to be, they're going to find out the vaccine's not effective in all cases, or some people can't have the vaccine, or there's going to be some other,
Or that
there'll be
we're going
some
to need to
reason
have
why.
100 doses each.
Well, I guess, I mean,
a million.
let's move that right up in the stack. We can talk about that next. Wasn't what I was planning to do, but we can do it.
Yeah.
Let's talk about this. Trudeau announces plan to purchase the misleading headline. Trudeau announces plan to purchase 76 million doses of Canadian-made COVID-19 vaccine. Also, immediately after that in the article, it's actually on the order of 358 million doses.
Yeah, 76 million from the Quebec place, but it's 300 and something total that he's purchased now.
Total.
$358 million that they've already purchased of a vaccine that doesn't exist, that hasn't been approved, and has no timeline.
It's a pre-order. It's a pre-order.
It's not even like it's not even
They're
like
taking the
there's just
gun
one.
shop mentality and doing pre-orders on the vaccine. That's how that's working.
Yeah. What are you trying to say, Andrew?
I don't know. I was complaining about a bunch of things, but sort of non-coherently.
But yeah, so 358 million doses so far is what our government has purchased. What's the population in Canada?
36.2 something.
Yeah, not that.
Wait, it's
Yeah.
not 358 million?
I don't even
So-
think the population of the U.S. is 358 million
Is it
anymore.
76 million? Because we bought 76 million doses from this company in Quebec. Is the population of Quebec 76 million?
The 76 million doses that were purchased from the Quebec company should, in theory, be able to vaccinate everyone in Canada 3 times, almost, like 2 1/3.
Maybe he was trying to save Quebec jobs again.
Well,
I
that's
feel
you know
like
what that's
that's
exactly
what this was. So
Yeah,
I looked up Medica Go. I don't see anyone in their leadership profile that like is obviously related to a liberal, just going by surnames.
So no blue hair.
Well, I was looking like, okay, so are you married to the finance minister? Do you own all the potatoes? Like that was kind of what I was looking for, but I
Yeah,
don't see
no,
anyone in here that is obviously related to a member, like a cabinet member.
Yeah, you have to look and see who owns this company. Like which company owns this company. Like you have to kind of follow the trail out, I'm sure.
Yeah, if you
But
follow
that's-
the money,
No, I didn't-
you're sure to figure it out. Yeah.
But here's the thing:
Just looked at their C-suite.
if this wasn't just a funneling of cash, taking taxpayers' cash and funneling it to friends, then there would actually be some complaints about this. Because first off, we've got 358 million doses. So it's one thing if you was buying, 30 something million to cover the population. It's one thing if you bought that even from a couple of different companies just because you didn't know which one was going to be successful. But if he's buying 358 million doses, at what point are they saying that he's hoarding the vaccines and preventing other countries from being able to access these critical vaccines that are needed in a time of pandemic? The fact that nobody is saying that means that they're all complicit on this payout.
I would imagine if
you're not wrong, but I don't think that you could make that argument because the $76 million that's going to Medico in Quebec, they're building a new factory. So they'll be able to manufacture 100 million doses next year.
No, again, not $76 million, 76 million doses.
Sorry,
Yeah.
You're right. You're right. I said that wrong.
Yeah.
It's how much is it? It's a $20 million investment into the
173 million.
Company.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah,
I got ahead of
100
myself. It's $18 million. It's going to the Vancouver Nanotech Company.
Yes.
It's $170 million. It's going to Medicago to build a new plant in Quebec to make 100 million doses of this drug next year that may or may not work and has not yet been proven or done clinical trials or
may not even actually
because
exist
it's
at
all
this
still
moment in time.
preclinical.
Yes.
No, it exists because it's in preclinical trials.
Now, also, my understanding is that this $173 million is not including the purchase price of the vaccine. So they've
Why
I
would
agree
it?
with your assessment of that.
Yeah.
That's for them to develop the vaccine
Correct.
and build a plant in Quebec. That does not include the cost of procuring the vaccine.
correct. Like this is two separate line items. One, we've signed an agreement to purchase 76 million doses, and we have also invested 173 million into the company.
Yeah.
Invested in
Yes.
giant air quotes. We have thrown another $170 million at the Quebec.
Yeah. So can
don't even know what to call
taxpayers
them.
expect
This is
to get
another
a
SEC
dividends
Lavalin
on this
thing.
because we all own a piece of this company now?
100% we are not getting anything back from this. We literally just this is like giving money to Bombardier or SNC Lavalin. We would be better off. We would get more value for it to light it on fire and just watch it burn. That would be more productive than giving it to these people.
It's plastic.
Yeah.
It wouldn't burn. It would just melt.
I accept this.
Yeah, but then we could use that plastic to make something else.
Quite literally anything else that is not building a plant to build vaccines.
Replace all of the single-use plastics we're no longer allowed to use by melting down dollar bills.
So also, we've just talked about how we've already secured 358 million doses in the same article. So this announcement comes in the same day the government detailed its planned spending for the remainder of the fiscal year. The Public Health Agency of Canada is to receive an additional $5.4 billion to fund further medical research and to help develop and purchase more vaccines and COVID-19 related treatments for the Canadian market.
So who are we vaccinating exactly then? I would understand
The world.
36 million people, call it 40 million as a round number. I would even accept double that. Right?
Yeah,
world.
and I would even accept that if they want to get that from a couple of let's secure doses from a couple of different ones that are in trials right now, so we don't know which is going to be the first one to market. So you're going to do a
sure, and even you've got to
bets.
allow for a rate of failure. You've got to allow for broken vials, all those things. I would understand even 2 doses per person. I would accept that, and then whatever. Once we've exhausted our need here, we can sell the rest at fair market value or even cost. I would accept that to another country that needs them. That makes sense to me. That's well under 100 million doses. What are we doing with the other 258 million?
Giving them away to other countries. I mean, what do you expect he's going to do with it? He didn't get his seat at the UN.
We're not going to take delivery on
next
them.
time.
Yeah, we are not going to take delivery on them, and we're just going to be financially liable for them, and we'll just give them money.
Yeah.
Because that's what this is all about. This is just about giving money, and I guarantee if you could follow the dollars, there's a payout happening here.
Yeah.
You're probably right, but I mean, most of these companies are not. I'm not going to say they're liberal lackeys. They're not friends of. Actually, they might be friends of the Trudeaus, but they're not friends of people in the government. It's companies like Pfizer, AstraZeneca, Moderna. These are big global pharma companies, right?
But that's what I was thinking. I mean, I'm not thinking this is Trudeau payouts. I think this is like New World Order, World Health Organization, that kind of deal.
Yeah. They'll take the money this way. It'll go into funding their campaigns for the next election.
Yeah, and they'll get money back for exactly. This will go back into other things, or this will go back to World Health, or this will go to some other UN body or some other country that's running some campaign that is to the benefit of Pfizer, so they can give people more boner pills.
Yeah, I mean, I don't dispute the validity of the boner pills. I just don't understand why
we have to pay for them.
We have to pay for them twice. Yeah. Really?
Yeah.
Well, I have a whole bunch of other issues with some of these companies because most of these AstraZeneca, Moderna, and Pfizer are also all heavily involved in the opioid trade. Although they do it legally, they don't do it through like poppy fields in Afghanistan, but
Yes,
at least
they do.
that's honest work.
But I mean, the poppies
Yes,
have to come from somewhere, so at least they're helping small businesses.
Okay, so yeah, Marty's not wrong. I just mean it's not like they're probably not buying directly from the Taliban is what I'm getting at.
No, there's at least one or two intermediaries in there. Possibly
Like
the
CIA.
CIA. Yeah.
It's funny how we always default to the CIA, but CSIS is,
Wow.
completely innocent in all of this.
So I think that
I just said they don't have the infrastructure to push heroin. Yeah.
That's what I was gonna say. I think we just think that the competence of the CIA is a fair bit higher than that of CSIS.
Yeah. Yeah.
The CIA has been selling drugs a lot longer and a lot more profitably than CSIS has.
But to the CSIS agents that are listening live tonight, we're sorry, we don't mean to demean you. It's the organization as a whole, not the individuals.
Yeah, like sorry guys, but numbers are numbers.
Yeah.
And they're kicking your ass. You guys got to step up your game.
Yeah.
Those are rookie numbers of drug sales. Like my dead grandma sells more drugs than you do. Step it up. I can go on for a long time about opioids as well because it's just a
one. I have a problem with some of these pharma companies because of the opioid crisis, because of the way that we do Western medicine and we prescribe painkillers to people instead of fixing problems. But that is separate from the issue of why our government has decided to invest $200 million into building facilities to manufacture vaccines that haven't been proven or tested or approved for use in this country at a rate of 10 to 1 for the population to give people, but I don't know why what are we going to do with all these vaccines when we don't get them again?
I'm telling you, he didn't get his seat at the UN, so he's going to give away all of the remaining ones. And hopefully that'll get him a seat on some other committee that opens up at the UN. That'll be even more ridiculous.
What's the official leader, or what's the House leader's name now? It's not Bradish Chegger anymore. It's somebody Rodriguez.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't remember the fellow's name now, but they're all upset that
weird that she got the boot after the whole we thing, huh?
It's strange how that happens. So
yeah,
the new House leader Rodriguez and Patty Hiju, the Minister of Health, are all up in arms that the opposition, I shouldn't say the minority, the opposition party wants to have a committee to look into the COVID spending. Meanwhile, we're giving away hundreds of millions of dollars in drugs that may not even exist someday.
Yeah.
And the Conservatives would like to have some fiscal oversight. Literally the only thing the Conservative Party is, I was about to say good at, that is an unfair characterization of the Conservative Party. The only thing that the Conservative Party is electable based on is their fiscal policy.
Yeah, I mean,
these people.
Basically, they just need someone to go over the liberal budget because we haven't seen one yet. And we know that, like, when it comes out, like, it's just going to go...
We're never going to see...
Liberal approved spending. Yes. That's all it's going to say on it.
200 pages of gender balance studies about how we had to get money to a company in Quebec to make a fake vaccine.
Well, and you know, it's probably only like the first 20 pages actually say anything. And then after that, it's just like random words.
Did you read the last?
Because no one's going to get that far. No one's going to get that far through it.
It was like the first, what was it? That was like a 400-page document the last time the budget came out. And the first like 385 pages were like drivel, like meaningless word salad drivel.
Yeah. Yeah, they're hoping that nobody reads it to get to the number part.
Marty did.
Okay, so
I used the control find button.
To play devil's advocate for a second here.
No.
If they're building a factory in Quebec that can make vaccines, is it reasonable to assume that they can make more than one type of vaccine, so that when we no longer need 400 million COVID vaccines, that they can build something else and that we're increasing our domestic production capabilities? Is that possible?
Is it possible? Yes. Is it probable? No.
Fair enough.
No, I think I tend to agree with Alan that they're definitely spooling up their mind control vaccine capabilities.
It's the new MK Ultra North. That's
Yes, yeah. That was very good point, Alan.
And I mean, if it works out that way, then despite the cost now, that might actually be good for us later when we don't want to be dealing with China and we have the ability to produce domestically. Unfortunately, that's going to take some convincing of government dollars to get companies to bring that production back here.
I
should not have-
don't know how much you could be in. You could be right a little bit that it would get some domestic manufacturing capability. I think part of the issues with this type of stuff is that a lot of the sort of subcomponents of these vaccines are also produced in China. Like I think it's difficult to. I don't think you have like a complete end-to-end supply chain here in Canada for this, but
No, you probably can't make all of the. It's not a reagent. What's the other base substance that you use? Chemistry is failing me now, but we probably don't produce all of the things domestically that you would need to actually manufacture the vaccine.
Well, then that's really inconvenient.
Well, this is what happens when we offshore manufacturing and we send all of these jobs to other countries because we make an unattractive tax climate for these companies to operate in. Why did we have no domestic textile manufacturing? Because it's cheaper to make shirts in Bangladesh than it is to make them here and abide with all of our regulatory processes and health and safety processes and still make a profit when you make a $4 shirt. Right? It's the same thing in other industries. Medicine is not significantly different.
I mean, there's a reason everyone goes to Mexico for their boner pills. And other narcotics.
It's all about that sweet leaf.
Something like that. Let's go back up. We were going to talk about this one a little earlier. Following up on the confidence motions we were talking about in CBC. Elections Canada ready to run snap election during pandemic, says Chief Electoral Officer. So Stéphane Peru was in Parliament as part of the follow-up to last week's two motions. He says Elections Canada is prepared to run a snap election despite the roadblocks that the government was putting in place, despite the roadblocks that were imposed by the pandemic. He would like the government to ease their burden by making some changes to what Elections Canada is allowed to do and how the election is allowed to be run. Those three big changes: mail-in ballots accepted until the Monday after the weekend voting period. Legislation to allow Elections Canada to deliver tailored voting services to long-term care facilities, and more flexible powers in the pandemic context to postpone or cancel vote in emergency situations. The one thing that's they're missing out on the list of things they recommended is weekend voting.
Wait, they want the power to cancel votes?
I mean,
Yes.
I'm okay with that. Like, because you know that it's only going to happen in places like Toronto.
Well, I wish that were the case, but my concern, so a reasonable person would look at this and say that, well, we can't have people going to polling places in Toronto because you all can't sit in restaurants in Toronto and behave like adults. I don't think that's actually the case, as much as I poop all over Toronto. I mean, Toronto deserves it. And I'm not wrong.
It's true. I mean,
I
there
also
are
don't
actually
believe that
people
there's,
that
like-
poop all over Toronto.
I don't believe that there's a massive surge of cases in Toronto of people dying of the coronavirus. I believe that there's an increase in testing and that there are more people testing positive for coronavirus. And I'm willing to believe that there's an increase in case counts in places like Toronto because it's a virus that you can get and people in Toronto can't behave themselves and not engage in not going to glory holes or
I don't know, but
going
glory
to.
holes, you can't get it at one. They've already said that it's fine.
Oh, they said it was fine. Okay.
So can we vote at glory holes?
Ooh, I think you might be onto something.
Maybe. So
Just really get more
I'd be
people
willing
out to
bet
vote.
I'd be willing to
Now-
bet that places like Toronto don't shut down their ability to cancel votes and have emergency postponements and so forth. But I would be willing to bet that they do that in small towns that don't have large medical facilities because they don't want to risk an outbreak because they had an uptick in cases the week of the election.
Now,
I would be
what's
willing to
not
bet that
clear
for
here
rural
is
locales.
I would assume that when they talk about, postponing or canceling a vote within a specific riding, that those ridings votes would still count and would just be delayed. So let's say, for example, it was Toronto. Let's just take the most unlikely scenario.
Fingers crossed. Let's hope it's Toronto.
So all of Toronto's votes don't count. The rest of Canada still votes. But there's so many actual what are the words for seats in Toronto that can sway the election. And so assuming the rest of Canada votes and it's such a clear majority that if all of Toronto voted in one way, the other person or that candidate would still win, then that candidate wins. But if those votes of Toronto are needed to decide the rest of the election, I suspect that they will then just wait until it'll just be a contested election until that region can vote.
So, in other words, we're going to tell the people that can't vote how everyone else voted and let them make a unbiased and personal decision about how they should vote. That just seems like we're swaying the vote.
Yeah.
This sounds like government-induced vote tampering.
Or a way to potentially delay having the results of an unfavorable election, because if it's contested indefinitely, because this pandemic could go on for years.
Because the pandemic could go on forever. Well, until we get everybody their 10 doses of coronavirus vaccine.
Million doses.
It can't be
an annual vaccine with your it'll just be the flu vaccine because it's just a flu.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not wrong, Marty. You're not wrong.
It's not even the flu. It's cold.
The other thing that worries me about this is tailored voting systems to long-term care facilities and the mail-in ballots, although to a lesser degree. I don't love the idea of mail-in ballots because our postal service is notoriously unreliable and biased. I feel like that's an opportunity for further tampering. Doing it by mail-in ballots does not seem like a great solution.
Yeah, I mean, I get why we have that option. I mean, especially for, people that are still Canadian citizens but are living abroad and still have the right to vote. But also make an effort.
Well, make an effort in the vein of the mail-in ballots. I wanted to talk about something that Perot brought up. The work of engaging demographics that face systemic challenges in voting, such as homeless Canadians and Indigenous communities under tight travel restrictions. Can't they just do a mail-in ballot if they can't travel and have a polling place? I mean, I don't know why an Indigenous community couldn't have a polling place.
Yeah, I imagine they have some sort of public meeting hall of some sort there, a school.
Right. I would expect that some kind of any Indigenous community of any size would have some sort of government provided
longhouse
building
of
some description, right?
Yeah.
A school, a band hall,
bingo
a
parlor,
meeting place. I don't know. Do they have a Shriners for natives?
Probably.
I mean, different hat, but same idea.
Yeah, there's got to be someone that has a facility somewhere in the region that is capable of having a place for them to vote that is not ridiculously out of the way.
I mean, you
secondary
could also
consideration with this.
put a trailer.
Did I
on
miss
the
something?
ground.
Did we put the
Yeah.
Indians in lockdown? Are indigenous communities not allowed to travel with coronavirus?
The reservation near me says that nobody's allowed on. Like they've got roadblocks at every
But
entrance.
that's completely unrelated to the coronas. Yeah.
Well, no, I mean it specifically has it's been an open access area for as long as I've been living in this neighborhood.
Okay, right.
They've
But
got
so you
they've
can't
got
drive onto the
drive on,
reserve.
but I don't think there's anything stopping them from leaving.
So they have
Well,
better
there usually
border
isn't. It's
security
just
than the
incentive
country
of
does.
getting more government dollars if they stay.
I just want to see the natives like, fool me once, white people. We've seen this. We've seen this trick before.
Yeah. Stay the hell out of our reserve. No cheap gas and cigarettes for you.
I mean, I don't think there's anything physically stopping anyone from leaving. I think they're strongly discouraged because they don't want to. They want to keep it off the keep it a white man problem. But I can't speak to that exactly.
I certainly can't
I can
blame them.
I can only say clearly my observation as I drive down the road to the place with the cheap gas that at all the entrances to the reservation there are big signs that say band members only.
The other thing that Perot brought up with this is that there is possibly some issues around having an election held over a weekend. Having it for 2 days does mean it's more likely for people to be able to turn out. Not having giant groups of people on Mondays before or after work showing up, which is a good thing, but it may interfere with days of religious significance. Which, I mean, should be fine because, like, most people have a day of religious significance on a Saturday or a Sunday, not typically on both.
Both, yeah. That's why they want to have it on 2 days in the weekend.
Unless you're a Pastafarian, in which case the weekends are sacred.
The whole weekend?
I have no idea. I'm making it up, but it sounds good, doesn't it?
Yeah, but I mean,
It sounded believable.
imagine, I mean, they have their colander on their head. So, I mean, you know, I would say that a weekend is sacred.
It sounded believable. So I think we could absolutely go and vote like normal with, if we did this over 2 days or 3 days or what have you, it's going to cost Elections Canada more because we're going to have more people at polling places to run them over.
It's 2020. Money doesn't matter anymore. We've already proven this. It
So
genuinely does not matter.
Where do you have your polling places? Because historically, it's schools, nursing homes. If you are trying to be a good citizen for a pandemic, you're probably not going to want to have all of your entire local population going through schools and nursing homes.
No, just make a good point. Although my local polling place in the last election was a hotel conference room.
Just put it at a gym or a library or something that's closed right now, anyways. Do that.
Well, I mean, school gyms are closed, aren't they? You can't get that close to people. I mean, half the arenas are empty most of the time. Yeah. You've got options. I understand that they're hesitant to try and put all of those people in one room, regardless of the size of the room. But these are theoretical problems. Was there not an election in
Parliament? Apparently, that's a COVID-free zone because they don't have to wear masks there.
Yeah, or Walmart. You could just do it in Walmart.
I'm going to apply to Elections Canada. I have the solution. We're going to take the same thing that we do for COVID testing, and we're just going to apply it to how we do elections voting. We're just going to do drive-through polling places.
Yeah.
You line up on Friday night, 12 hours before they open, and you sit in your car, and the police have to complain and shut it down on Saturday afternoon because you're interfering with the flow of traffic. No, wait, that won't work. Then nobody gets to vote.
Why don't we just have it? Why don't we just put it at all the Tim Hortons? I mean, they're lined up around the corner all day, anyways. If we just
get a vote and a coffee,
get a vote and a coffee. I think that's a fantastic concept. I bet we'd have better than 35% turnout too.
Yeah, but that's just because half the people would be showing up for a coffee, not realizing it's voting, and go, "Oh, well, I guess while I'm here."
We could really pitch the whole Chinese democracy at that point: a chicken in every pot, a vote in every cup of Timmy's.
I don't know. That was a terrible Guns N' Roses album. We don't want to have anything to do with that Chinese democracy.
Every Guns N' Roses album is terrible.
I was just going
Shots
to ask
fired.
if there was such a thing as a
Shots
good
fired.
Guns N' Roses album. Sorry to that one guy that likes Guns N' Roses, but also not.
That cuts deep, guys.
Let's go over to this. We've got some gun stuff to round out the show with. On iPolitics, RCMP expert who led firearm ban challenges opponents in court case. So our dear friend Murray Smith, formerly of the Firearms Lab, the Specialized Firearms Support Services for the Canadian Firearms Program, has apparently filed an affidavit in one of the lawsuits, although I have not figured out which one because I can't actually find a copy of the affidavit. I mean, I didn't look very hard. I spent 15 minutes and then that was the extent of my effort. So, for people that don't know, Murray used to be the manager of the RCMP branch that drafted all of the changes following the Order in Council. Yeah. Apparently, he's now a civilian consultant to the firearms program.
Weird.
He says we're all a bunch of disingenuous liars.
And then it was like, as soon as it dropped, it was like, peace, I'm out, retirement time.
No, he hit retirement and he was like, I'm retired. Yeah. And then now he's apparently working as a consultant.
Yeah. And just out of curiosity, he was the guy that was in charge of the firearms lab when the 22 came in and they said that it was an AK, right?
Yeah, that's the same guy.
Okay, I just wanted to you know.
And now he's not only validate
his credentials.
So now he's drawing a federal pension and being paid by the same federal government to crap on the people that are paying his pension.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that is effectively true.
Okay.
Yeah.
But he says that we're all disingenuous and we're lying and that this is all fake news because
he's a subject matter expert because he classified a 22 as an AK.
All of the experts that have filed affidavits against this firearms ban have made assumptions about the way that the orders in council are written. And I don't know that that's very accurate. I feel like most of the affidavits have been very factual and honest about how they've done this. I mean, I'm maybe a little bit biased in that.
So is he.
No, maybe. I am biased in that, but I mean, I feel like the guy that worked for the Liberal Party for 30 years making firearms laws up also is kind of biased.
Yeah.
He's a consultant defending his own rules. Of course he's biased.
Yeah, and I think what he's getting at is like some of the claims of shotguns being prohibited and things like that. And some of the other stuff that, I mean, we know wasn't necessarily intentional and may or may not be vague and gray and exaggerated. There's no, like, shotguns for the most part aren't, although potentially some are. We don't really know because there's no official way to measure and things like that. But, like, so yes, on that, he might be right in that there is some disingenuous comments being made, but also it's super vague. So
I don't think that a lot of those comments, like take the shotgun issue as an example, I don't think that they're disingenuous. If you measure the bore of a shotgun at various locations through the bore, the diameter of the bore can be in excess of 20 millimeters if it is a 10 or 12 gauge shotgun.
Absolutely. And that's what I mean. Like some of the whole thing is vague and I mean, intentionally so maybe, but that's what he's getting at. So, I mean, he has a point sort of, but so do the people filing the affidavits where it's vague. So absolutely. Like you said, if you measure it at this point, it's less than 20, but then this point it's greater than 20. So where is it? And that's, I guess, what the courts need to figure out, right? Like
that is the problem with the way that the law, the Order in Council, the way that the Order in Council is written, it is intentionally, I think it's intentionally vague and misleading. And I understand that traditionally the bore of the shotgun is measured at the muzzle of the shotgun, traditionally. But the Order in Council doesn't take into account like things like whether or not it has removable choke tubes and whether or not those choke tubes are installed.
Yep.
It doesn't take into account things like where in the barrel the bore is measured from, because it is not
they give
specific
no procedure. And same with, I mean, muzzle velocity, where it's capable of.
And that's the problem, is because it says capable of, And well, he's right. It's very easy for firearms owners to look up muzzle energy of ammunition. Yes. But it's also very easy for firearms to be capable of more than the rated value on the lowest performing box of ammunition they can get in a specific caliber.
Yeah. I mean, I've got a
Like
very
I can
heavy
load
barreled,
well,
rolling or
like, you
falling
take all
block.
of your
Yeah.
fancy your fancy PRS guns that shoot variations of 6mm, 6.5mm. You can load those rounds up to like 3,000, 3,500, 3,800 feet per second. You probably shouldn't, but you can. So if I load around hot enough, does that mean that the firearm is capable? Like, because the firearm can discharge it once, does that make the firearm capable of? Because that's what the crux of the argument is not the published load data for muzzle energy from a manufacturer. The Ordering Council says capable of. So I feel that Murray is being disingenuous in his affidavit, and I hope that the court sees that.
And I think that anyone that considers him a subject matter expert is, well, quite honestly, a moron.
Well, I can see how he might be a subject matter expert. I mean, he did run the firearms lab for like 15 years.
Yeah, but if you look at some of the decisions that he's made.
Oh, I'm not saying that
he's an absolute moron.
Honestly or with integrity. I'm just saying that he did a thing. It's the same as Wendy Sukier is technically an expert because she's testified as an expert in a bunch of court proceedings.
Fair.
I still think she's a disingenuous liar and a terrible person. But that doesn't mean she's not recognized by the court as an expert.
Like, he's just trying to be like, well, obviously this is what we meant. And it's like, yeah, I think we can all agree, even as reading it, like, we know that that's what you meant. But the problem is you can't have law that's open to interpretation.
Yeah.
Because it can be interpreted.
Laws are open interpretation. Like, laws are written to be purposely vague and then tried in court, and then case law is what makes it. Unfortunately, we have the case law, and it doesn't come out in our favor because it's open to too much interpretation.
Exactly. So this guy just being like, well, this is dumb. Obviously, we meant this. It's like bullshit, because if that's what you meant, you would have said that.
Yep.
You said that. You said it this way. That left all of these additional guns available to be banned. That was done intentionally. And so that's why this is like, I think that I don't know if he's being intentionally disingenuous or he just isn't aware of the history of persecution through vague firearms laws.
Man, this guy ran the firearms center or the special firearms service from 2008 to 2020. The guy spent 12 years doing this. He is responsible for every decision that's been made for as long as Marty and I have been firearms owners about how gun laws in this country work and about what guns are able for us to purchase or not. He is being disingenuous.
Yep. And I think he's probably backpedaling or trying to cover it up because he got spanked because he was hoping that nobody would actually pay attention to the order, and it would just disappear into the night. It would be done deal, and he wouldn't have to answer to it.
Well, yeah, or that like nobody realized he was behind it all and retired immediately after. But I mean,
well, I look forward to seeing him in court.
Yeah. Blair probably called him up and said, "Hey, man, so they're not believing my tweets about these shotguns. I need your help, bro."
Well, this is the same thing. Tweets aren't law. Like, this is not.
Wait, they're not?
Don't tell the Biden supporters. Everything that Trump tweets is gospel.
Well, that's a whole other set of problems. That's a different podcast, though. That's not my problem. Let's do one more thing. Further proof that Toronto should have a wall built around it and the lake made bigger. This is in Sun. Fight over social distancing led to murder in Toronto LCBO parking lot? ? More at 11. Not really. More right now. So there were some interviews on the news earlier.
10.
Yeah, there were some interviews on the news earlier. This is an incident that happened yesterday at what appears to be a pretty rough neighborhood in Toronto. Vic Park and the Danforth. Wasn't there recently a series of tragic events on the Danforth?
Yeah, more or less in that area. There was a thing with some guy with a lot of narcotics and some guns.
Wasn't there also a van of peace on the Danforth and a bomb?
Yeah, there's a few things going around. Really
Right?
good
Like
food
I'm
though.
pretty sure somebody had a bomb at a restaurant on the Danforth. I'm pretty sure people got run over with a van of peace on the Danforth.
Great food though.
Doesn't seem
Great
like a
food.
great neighborhood, but I mean, find me a neighborhood in Toronto that is a great neighborhood.
I don't.
You will
So I
need the
think,
intern on that one.
I was gonna say, I think I found the Doug Ford's comments on the situation. Yeah. Once again, Dougie actually nailed it on this one.
I didn't hear anything.
Oh, did it not go through? Son of a bitch.
No.
Fucking Zoom.
Well, there's our F bomb.
Yeah, but at least it doesn't sound like Andrew's talking through a tin can this time.
Yeah, that
I
is
hope
true.
It doesn't sound. I hope it doesn't sound like I'm talking through a tin can. I've tried to fix my stuff, guys. So, two 20-ish-year-old people at LCBO apparently were having an argument. One of them followed the other outside, and in his best Danny DeVito impression, he started blasting.
Shot him in the back once.
You're really ruining my interpretation of the story, Alan. That's fine.
I don't know what I do. I ruin stuff.
That's fine. So, callers 911 described multiple gunshots. Subject was struck. The individual was struck once by a bullet and later died. Another 20-year-old man was charged. He and a female were seen fleeing the scene in a silver Honda. Police caught up with them, arrested him, and he's going to be going to court shortly over that. So I have a couple of theories on this, based on some stuff not in the Sun article that's in our show notes, but based on some video interviews. I think that this may be a stretch to say that this was over social distancing, but I can see how there may have been confusion. Alan, do you want to ruin everything for me at this point?
Sure. Well, they're calling it a social distancing issue because at one point the now deceased said, "Get the F away from me." I mean, does that make it about a social distance? I don't know. That's again, it might be a stretch. It might not be.
I feel like it might be a stretch to say that's about social distancing. I also feel like it's going to be a stretch that the assailant in this case had a legally carried and concealed pistol that they used to start blasting at someone when they had a dispute at the LCBO.
I also find it interesting that the accused, is charged with first-degree murder, not second-degree, which makes me think that there's more to it that we're not hearing.
That's kind of my thought. So I have a suspicion that these two individuals may have known one another, or that they may have had some sort of prior altercation. I don't think this is about social distancing, and I'm sure that legal gun owners are going to get blamed for it because another homicide in Toronto involving a firearm. I think this is number 60 for homicides in Toronto this year.
Sounds accurate.
Slow
Now, I don't
year,
think this is the
because everybody's at home.
60th firearms homicide in Toronto, but I think this is the 60th homicide in Toronto this year.
Wait, whoa, hold on. People are killed by things other than guns? I'm blown
People
away to hear
can
that.
be killed by things other than guns. Sometimes vans of peace, sometimes bombs,
Sometimes the
quite
corona.
often fists and knives. And I'm not sure if anyone's ever actually been killed by the corona. I'm not saying it's not possible. I'm just saying I don't know that that's actually the case because of the way that they do the testing, because comorbidity is a thing and we don't have good statistics from work from.
That was a hell of a segue, guys.
Well, thanks. I don't actually have an article for that, but if you want to carry on, have at her.
Isn't there an article in the notes about how the health units have not actually kept statistics of which deaths involve a positive test, in which case, and in which test COVID was the primary cause of death?
No, it's definitely a thing that we've been talking about, but it's not in the show notes. So if somebody wants to drop an article or something in the show notes, I'm all for that, because that is a thing that is worth mentioning. If you have any additional details for that, Alan.
Okay, that's weird because I'm literally looking at it in the show notes right now. It's a Toronto Sun article. Maybe I'll just bump it up to the top of the, or bump it up in the list a little bit. Stand by.
Oh, yeah, no, sorry, that's an old thing. Let me put that up. You're right. Look at me being good at my job. I wasn't planning on covering that today, but that's cool. Let's talk about that.
So yeah, I mean, I read that article before the show, and they called around to all the health units, and the health unit said yes, there were X number of deaths that included a positive corona test, but there's nothing indicating to what degree corona was a contributing factor in that person's death.
I'm going to say very little in most cases.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we have the same. We're going to run into the same thing that we have every single flu season, where people end up on respiratory assistance because their lungs are full of stuff. They end up with pneumonia. They die, and the root cause was probably the virus. But was that the final cause? Was it a contributing factor? We don't know, and we're not keeping stats on exactly what that means or exactly what that looks like.
But the government is not keeping accurate records and statistics that we can use to infer future data from?
Once again, blown away to hear this.
Yeah. They'll just
literally
ask them
never
about it on the
happened
next
before.
census. Did you
If you
die
died
of
of
coronavirus?
Good. I can't wait to fight another census worker over answering those ridiculous questions. Apologies in advance to whoever Census Canada sends to my house, because yeah, last time sucked. Next time's probably gonna suck again. But here we are. So I don't know that there's much else with that. We don't know if people died of corona or if they died of something else in Ontario, because comorbidity is a thing. And just because they had the corona doesn't mean they died from it. I also have as much faith in the tests that they're doing on deceased persons as they're doing at drive-through test centers, which is to say no confidence at all. Basically, I don't believe the government. I mean, I don't believe them about this specifically, and I don't believe them about anything generally.
Yeah, and for listeners that are just figuring that out, you clearly have not listened to all 266 episodes.
I mean, I definitely have
So
not
it could
listened
be
to all
somebody's
266
first
episodes, and I figured that out pretty damn quick.
Any episode can be somebody's first episode. I don't believe our government.
And you probably shouldn't either.
Well, I don't want to tell how people how to live their lives, but if it were up to me, yeah, stop listening to the government. They're making things up and they're doing it to your detriment. All right, let's wrap this thing up. This week, we're doing book club because it's last Wednesday of the month. We're back on schedule. October's book is Left of Bang, How the Marine Corps Combat Hunter Program Can Save Your Life by Patrick Van Horn. Next week, that's not right. Next month, November, if you haven't started reading, you're probably not going to finish the book in time. It's Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules for Life. I hope you're already started on that one.
Yep. Really good, but a little dense.
Really long.
It's a long book. It's well involved. It's thoroughly annotated. It is excellently cross-referenced. It is wonderfully informative. It is not an easy read.
The urine test you have to submit along with it. It's a little weird though, but
I think that's just for Dr. Peterson's own collection. I really do.
well, that explains it. Yeah.
It's important to have hobbies.
Yeah,
I'm not opposed to it. I think that's what the purpose is.
that's fair.
Also, if you're shopping on Amazon, Particularly if you want to get an official Big Luau shirt, you should use our affiliate link. We get affiliate revenue if you use our affiliate link. It's one of those things that I appreciate because last month it paid for my son's diapers. Not because that's what I was planning on doing with it, but that's apparently how Amazon gift cards work. So if you're shopping on Amazon, use our affiliate link. It's in the show notes or it's on our website. It's on every page of our website. It's on at the end of every show notes that we do. Or if you go to bigluau.biz and click through and use those links and buy stuff from Amazon, we get some money from it. And it doesn't cost you anything, but I appreciate it because free diapers. Well, free diapers. Diapers that I didn't have to pay for, but that you did.
Diapers and healthcare.
Go-
Yeah, making that sweet diaper money.
Hey, man. Case of diapers is nothing, but helps me. Let's go around. We'll start with Marty. Marty, skill testing question. Where can everyone find the show?
CanadianPatriotPodcast.com.
Good man. Alan, where can everybody find you?
You can find me on the other CPP, which is the #1 live Sunday night CPP in Canada. Or you can email me, Alan with 1L at Canadian Prepper Podcast. Nope, Alan at prepperpodcast.ca.
That's a really long email. Alan with 1L at Canadian. No, I'm not. You're going to have to write that in the show notes.
I mean, it's memorable, but also people will forget it because it's too long.
There we go. Alan at prepperpodcast.ca. I see we've shortened it down a little bit.
Well,
Gavin, good. Where can everyone find you and that cat?
The cat you can find annoying me on most Mondays and Wednesdays, but you can find me on the internet on the gram, Urbex GTA, all one word, because my other account got zucked.
All right. If you've listened to us this long, you deserve a discount code. When you're shopping at RagnarokTactical.ca, use the discount code Patriot at checkout. Save yourself some money. And as always, it's $10 flat rate shipping for anything, anywhere in Canada. And for the people that have been emailing me lately, just order it. If the website lets you order it, it's because I'm supposed to have stock. Occasionally that causes me problems because I'm bad at inventory, it seems. But generally, if we've got it on the website, you can get it. I have to apologize to Rod. We couldn't fit in onto the show tonight. Bandwidth issues and so forth. Alan's not running his video. Marty's not running his video. And if we can't have views of BC with Rod's webcam, it's just not worth having Rod on the show.
Yeah. So beautiful out there.
Super nice scenery, bud. For all of our listeners out there in podcast land, I'd like to remind